So here it goes in like we come across variety of dissimilar combinations. This is what we typically see across our society, and they differ. These kind of combinations, if you see, they differ significantly. And the driving force here is the will, due to the variety of regions. The similar situation comes across here in our industry, where we have to bring in the two different kind of the things which are not compatible with each other. Still we need to put them together so that we can make the systems which are economical, which are efficient, and which can survive uh, to the design life without failure. So there are two aspects, you see, which we can say. One is the thermal power plant. One area is thermal power plant, where we see a lot of dissimilar metal combinations of the carbon and alloy steel are welded with the austenitic stainless steel. And then you see the fuel consumption prices are going on, so the efforts are being made by the automotives, those who are in the automotive sector, to cut down the weight of the automotive using the hybrid materials, wherein alloy steels are being joined with the number of other materials, including aluminium. So the joining of the aluminium and the steel is a comparatively newer thing, but it is being done in a lot of latest advanced cars nowadays. Idea is to cut down the weight and make the systems more robust, so that our fuel consumption, emission, etc., can be reduced. When we talk of bringing the two different metals together, there are a lot of challenges which are brought in by the difference in thermophysical properties, especially like melting point and thermal expansion coefficient. And these two properties, and also thermal conductivity. So these three properties bring in the asymmetric weld whenever we apply, like say, fusion welding. And the same is the situation in case of the some of the solid state joining. Similarly, in mechanical properties, difference in mechanical properties of the two metals to be joined in terms of yield strength and ductility, that leads to the localization of the residual stresses, which in turn frequently causes the cracking and the distortion as well. Metallurgical incompatibility or metallurgical properties between the two metals leads to the formation of undesirable poor constituents, which in turn leads to the very poor tensile properties, toughness, and ductility is very limited, leads to the very frequent cracking of the dissimilar metal weld joints. Likewise, the difference in their chemical affinity to the gases, that leads to the, like say, different compositions, leading to the different kind of the situations, promoting the defects and discontinuities in the weld joints. So what we want, basically, it is the best if the two can be joined without anything. Two components, two dissimilar metals can be joined without doing anything. So just put them together. If the joint is developed, it's the best situation. But we know that it's not workable, it doesn't happen. So we have to use a minimum, we have to use such kind of the solutions which apply the minimum heat. So the rest, most common one is, so the next most common solution here is like use the brazing and the shouldering kind of thing, but the joints are not that strong, and that's why we frequently go with the fusion one. When we go for the fusion one, we come across, in especially in dissimilar metal joining, lot of problems, including the heat affected zone and the weld metal related issues. So why it is happening? Because when we are going with the increasing heat input, the two metals which are not really compatible with each other will be creating a lot of troubles in both weld as well as the heat affected zone. So when it is done, this is very simple thing. Like we can see here, you see it is asymmetric weld. Weld is very limited in one side and it is more on the other side, and this is attributed to the difference in the properties of the two metals which are being joined. And when it is done directly, what we'll see, like in autogeneous welding, we see like there is a hard, brittle, low strength, low toughness, crack sensitive weld is formed. So what we can do, we have to avoid, like the two do not meet very frequently with each other, or their direct connectivity, direct interaction is reduced. So we have certain ways. One is like, let us reduce the heat input. Second is minimize the direct interaction between the two. Third is like, let us increase the compatibility between the two dissimilar or incompatible systems. So for that, what we have to reduce the heat input, we can use the high power density processes like the laser or the electron beam, or you can say the pulse GTAW or pulse GMAW, or there is a like keyhole TIG, CMT, etc. There are certain variations. Then apart from this, the minimizing the interaction is possible, like when the two metals being joined are not getting fused with each other, like in solid state joining. Then we are reducing the heat input, as well as their direct metallic interaction is also being reduced in case of the solid state joining. So that's another alternative way to do this. Then increasing the compatibility between the two incompatible metals. So for that, what we do, we'll try to do the little buttering or cladding and then interlayers. So that's what we can see in this slide. What we can see here, the two metals A and B are not compatible with each other, but so the third metal is brought in which is compatible both A and B. But sometimes we come across where the A and C, the filler and A metal A is not compatible, and filler and the base metal is not compatible. Then we have to bring in some more fillers which will be used as a buttering layer on both the sides. So idea here is like we are simply isolating the two metals which are not compatible with each other and still to be joined. Or second is, let's make them compatible, so that first isolation and then join them using the more compatible metals and the filler. You know that the two metals having the different physical, mechanical, and and chemical properties, different mechanical properties, so they are not going to behave in the same manner. And how do we check that where we should focus in so that our joint performs effectively during the service? We have to see whenever such kind of the dissimilar metal joints are developed, we need to check it, and then let us test them. On testing, we find where from the failure is occurring. So if it is from the metal B, we have to see, let's look into the metal B. Otherwise, let's talk about the metal A if the failure is occurring from the metal A. Okay, so the problem is with the base metals. Let us work on the base metal aspect. If the failure is taking place from the heat affected zone, means we need to do something to minimize the heat affected zone or to neutralize its negative effects which are there and that are causing either in the B side heat affected zone or A side heat affected zone. It's very common in dissimilar metals. And then interface. Like say, whenever the weld is developed, you will find that the base metal side A and weld, they are not mixing properly, they are not developing the good kind of the metallurgical connectivity, forming the weak zone. So there is a possibility that the weld and the base metal side A or base metal side B can lead to the weakness, and that can cause a lot of troubles. Then finally, if the failure is from the weld, then certainly we can do something at least. The good point in the fusion welding is that we have a lot of options to do and make the weld metal strong as compared to the base or heat affected zone. So that becomes the problem as well. You see, the performance of the fusion weld joint, whether it is similar or dissimilar, what you will see, the soundness, the performance will depend on whether it is sound or not. This is first thing. If it is sound, obviously all sound joints will be accepted. Then the weld metal properties and heat affected zone properties. Then the metallurgical, mechanical and residual stresses which are being developed. We have some of the opportunities to alter the properties using the suitable filler, which can be of the higher side, overmatched or undermatching filler as per the need, in terms of the need of the toughness, ductility, hardness, wear resistance, corrosion resistance, whatever you want, we can use. But we cannot do anything with the heat affected zone. It is always going to be there, and heat affected zone is the most troublesome area in the welding or in the dissimilar metal welding also. But the problems are more actually in dissimilar metal welding. So this in turn depends on the preheat and the heat affected zone. Both we want to minimize so that the HAZ size is reduced. And that is why what we say, this diagram simply shows we need an optimum heat input for developing a sound weld joint, technologically sound weld joint, not just the sound, so that it is free from the discontinuities. When it is the heat input is very less, there will be a lot of residual stress razors, there will be a lot of stress razors and the discontinuities. And when the heat input is more, there will be again the compromise in terms of the mechanical and metallurgical properties that will be degrading performance, mechanical performance of the joint. So we need optimum heat input. Now, to understand the way by which the different metals, dissimilar metals, when they are being joined in, how they will be affected. What you have to see is like the different metals are designed based on the different concepts like the work hardening, grain refinement, precipitation hardening, and the transformation hardening. These the highlighted colors, these are the metal systems which are designed using these four approaches. They will be like simply affected by the heat significantly. On the other hand, if you see the dispersion hardening and solid solution strengthening, these metals strengthened by these may not be much affected by the heat. Okay, so if you see here, if you take that steel in Q&T conditions, the steel in Q&T conditions shows lot of softening in the heat affected zone. Weld may be hard, it's fine. On the other hand, the steel in annealed condition, you see the weld is harder, then it is a little softer, then it is softer, like this. So there can be lot of variation. You change the metal, if you bring the two different metals, precipitation hardenable metals will show lot of softening. Weld is also weaker than the base metal. On the other hand, work hardened metals may be stronger than the base metal, and the weld is softer. So the point here is the moment you bring in the two different metals, give the same kind of thermal or the deformation kind of the treatment, they will respond differently, and that in turn will be leading to the lot of variation in properties. So let us take an example of, like, you take the sure yeah okay. So the dissimilar metal fusion welding, I will take you just 2 minutes. So in 2 minutes I will conclude this. So in dissimilar fusion welding, like say because the difference in the metals, we'll find like the weld metal is flowing this side or that side, and that in turn will be leading to a lot of the skewedness and asymmetric weld formation, and we get this kind of the weld. So let's take one typical newer development in GTAW process, where use of the fluxes. The fluxes were used, and that resulted in very deeper penetration, high depth to the width ratio weld as compared to the normal GTAW. Normal GTAW offers the 2 to 3 mm penetration, while AT offers the penetration like say up to, even we have welded even up to the 15 mm using the GTAW. So here, and this is the mechanism how it works in. When we use the different fluxes, it results in that increasing oxygen content in the weld from 20 to say 100, and that in turn leads to the increased depth of penetration for the identical width. Okay, so here we have used the approach of putting the interlayer for joining the dissimilar metals using the AT welding, and that resulted in, like say, when we don't use the any filler, it results in the simply martensitic structure, then mix of the martensitic structure and austenitic structure, and then austenitic weld. And that is what we can see here. We use the different interlayers, we get the different kind of the structures, and that in turn leads to the significant change in the properties and performance. Like say, without interlayer, we get the third very brittle weld, and when we use interlayers, we get the significantly improved weld performance. So then likewise we developed the functionally graded weld joints also using this approach, and that again resulted in a lot of improvement in toughness, and also that resulted in reduced the carbon migration tendency in the development of the weld joint.